Friends, today we are going to tell you a story that will leave you amazed. A dog found a 1-month-old newborn baby abandoned in the wilderness, and what it did with the baby left humanity ashamed. It all started like this. One day, after dawn, when the soft light began to blend into the darkness of the sky, the rays of the sun illuminated the earth. In the faint light, only the sound of a person's footsteps could be heard. In his hands, he held a 1-month-old baby who was crying. This person placed the baby a few steps away from the trash with a milk feeder and quietly fled the scene. Who was this person? Why had he left the baby there? What was his connection to this child? And now, what was going to happen to this innocent baby? Nobody knew. The baby was crying loudly, but there was no one to hear his cries. As he cried, he slipped and fell into the trash, completely buried in it. A stray dog happened to pass by, rummaging through the garbage in search of something to eat, hoping to find a bone or something to fill its stomach. When it heard a sound, it started to bark and began clearing away the garbage with its paws. When it removed the trash, it discovered the innocent baby. The dog grabbed the baby by the corner of its clothes with its teeth. The baby began to cry even louder. Then the dog dragged the baby to the corner of the street where its own small puppies were waiting. The puppies were delighted to see their mother. The dog placed the baby on the ground and looked at him with curiosity. The baby continued to cry while the puppies began to bark and jump toward the baby. However, the dog pushed her puppies back with her mouth, and the puppies silently observed the scene, wondering what was happening. The baby's cries intensified, and the dog licked the baby's mouth with its tongue, which silenced the innocent child. The baby opened his small eyes and looked at the dog in astonishment. The dog licked the baby's mouth again, and the baby's eyes widened in surprise. He became completely silent and began to look at the dog. Whenever the baby started to cry, the dog would lick his mouth again, and the baby would forget his cries and stare at the dog in amazement. A man was passing by, looking very poor. He had a stick in his hand, and his clothes were torn and muddy. He was using his stick to rummage through the garbage, searching for something. He had been searching through the trash for quite some time, collecting items that seemed useful to him in a bag slung over his shoulder. As he was rummaging through the garbage, he suddenly noticed the dog and was astonished to see a dog with its small puppies forming a circle around the abandoned newborn. Seeing this, the poor man became very anxious and started to step back. However, his conscience urged him to confront his fears. What if something happened to the baby? What if the dog and its puppies harmed the innocent child? Questions flooded his mind, and he felt deep sympathy for the baby. He rushed over and used his stick to scare away the dog and its puppies, then picked up the baby and headed home. When he entered his house with the baby, his wife asked him whose baby he had brought. He told her that he had found the baby while searching the trash. His wife replied, "Who knows whose baby it is? Why was it left there? Who abandoned it? We might get into trouble. You should take this baby back." "What are you saying? Should we leave it to die? Have some sense," he scolded his wife. He said he would drop the baby at the Eddy Center in a while. Until then, the baby would stay with them. Just a little while after the innocent child arrived at their home, he started crying. When his wife saw the baby crying, she said, "This baby is hungry. That's why he is crying." The poor man had a goat tied up in the house. He milked the goat and poured the milk into the baby's feeder. "What will our children drink when this baby finishes this milk?" his wife asked angrily. "Every living being brings its own sustenance," he replied, and his wife fell silent, taking the baby in her arms and began to feed him. The innocent child forgot to cry and opened his eyes to look at her, and she fell in love with him. After the baby finished the milk, she held him to her chest, feeling that he was getting warm. She touched the baby's forehead and found that he was burning with fever. "Oh no, he has a very high fever," she exclaimed. Her husband checked the baby too and saw that he indeed had a very high fever. He took the baby from his wife and went to the government hospital. After examining the baby, the doctor said that he needed to be taken to a better hospital to control the fever in time so that he could recover. However, the man did not have enough money to get treatment for the baby at a better hospital. He stood outside the hospital, holding the baby close, pondering what to do and where to go. If only he had money, he could have treated this innocent child. He was lost in thought, unable to decide what to do. The baby, oblivious to the world, looked even more innocent as he slept peacefully. A tear rolled down the man's cheek, wetting the baby's face. As he crossed the street, lost in thought about what to do and where to go with the baby, a thought struck him. He began to walk toward the police station, still holding the sleeping child. He took a deep breath outside the station and entered. Inside, all the police officers were busy with their work. He stood there pondering what to say when a police officer asked, "Brother, why are you here? Do you need something?" The man explained that he was a poor person and that he had found the baby while searching through the trash early in the morning. He had brought the baby home, but when noon arrived, the child developed a severe fever. He had taken the baby to a government hospital, but they told him that he needed to be admitted to a better hospital to recover quickly. But he did not have enough money to treat the baby in a better hospital. Not knowing what to do, he brought the newborn to the police station so that they could help find the baby's family and ensure the child received proper treatment. The police officer admired the man's humanity and took responsibility for the baby. He found that the baby did not seem well. The police officer took the baby to the hospital and had him admitted. The baby stayed in the hospital for 2 days, during which he received the best care possible. After 2 days, the newborn was completely healthy. The police officer took the baby home and handed him over to his wife. The officer had no children of his own, so he entrusted the baby to his wife for the time being until the baby's parents could be found. The officer's wife took great care of the baby with love. The officer searched everywhere for the baby's family. His wife suggested that it was possible the baby was illegitimate, and that's why he had been abandoned, or that the parents might not have the means to raise him, which is why they threw him in the trash. "Let's keep this baby," she said. The officer replied that as long as no relatives were found, they would raise the baby together, but he would continue to look for the baby's family, worried that they might be suffering from the loss. The officer began asking around the neighborhood where he found the baby, but could not find any leads on who the baby was, where he had come from, or why he was left there. Despite his relentless search day and night, he couldn't uncover any clues about the innocent child. The baby began to fall ill again, and the officer took him to the hospital. The doctor explained that the baby needed maternal milk. That was why he was getting worse, and that market milk wasn't suitable for him. The officer returned home and informed his wife about the doctor's advice. They both became very worried about where they would find the baby's mother. If they couldn't locate her, what would happen? The baby's health continued to decline. The officer's wife took great care of him, loving him like her own child, but she could never become his mother. One day the officer visited a friend. While he was there, he learned that his friend, who was also a police officer, was troubled by a case. The officer offered to help if he could. The friend explained that a wealthy man's business partner had betrayed him. When that partner was released from jail, he kidnapped the wealthy man's 1-month-old baby to take revenge. They had finally located the business partner after several days. But despite interrogation, he hadn't revealed where the baby was hidden. They had searched everywhere for the child, but there were no leads. The officer realized that when he found the baby, he too had been 1 month old. He told his friend about the baby he had found in the trash. The friend showed the baby to his wife, who recognized him immediately. She broke down in tears, feeling a mother's pain. Seeing the mother's sorrow brought tears to everyone's eyes. The woman showered blessings upon the officer's wife, wishing for her own barren womb to be filled. The officer's wife smiled and said, "Amen," as she returned home, crying. Her husband comforted her, and precisely 4 months later, Allah blessed them with a child. The officer often visited the woman and her baby, grateful for her prayers that had brought them this joy. People can become so blinded by revenge that they lose sight of every aspect of humanity. The man who abandoned the innocent child had his own children, yet he felt no pity for this baby, treating him like trash. Such cold-hearted people still exist in this world. May Allah protect us from the envious. Amen.